Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 143rd Commencement Exercises of the United States Coast Guard Academy. I am Master Chief Evan Birch, the Command Master Chief of the Coast Guard Academy. Please rise for the arrival of the official party and the rendering of honors.
Attention.
The rendering of honors includes a 19-gun salute. Please expect loud cannon fire. Military personnel, 10 hut! Now, Coast Guard Academy, arriving. Now, Coast Guard Academy, my apologies. Now, Coast Guard, arriving. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Homeland Security of the United States of America, arriving. Military personnel, hand salute. Ready, two. Please remain standing for our national anthem. Military personnel, hand salute. Ready, two. Please remain standing. At this time, I invite Professor Catherine Kristinick to the front of the stage. As mace bearer, Professor Kristinick is among the most senior members of the faculty and personifies the ideal of learning at the Coast Guard Academy.
The 143rd commencement exercises of the United States Coast Guard Academy are now convened.
Lieutenant Commander Camille Williams, Chaplain, United States Coast Guard Academy, will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. We stand in grateful awe as we witness the advancement of the United States Coast Guard Academy class of 2024. These young women and men have weathered a storm unlike any faced by previous classes. Through the trials of isolation and uncertainty brought on by the COVID pandemic, they persevered. We acknowledge the sacrifices they made, the uncertainties they faced, and the unwavering commitment they held on to. Bless them for their resilience, their adaptability, and their staunch dedication to serving their country. As they stand before this assembly, may they feel the strength and support of those who have served before them and the eager anticipation of those who will follow. We offer our deepest gratitude to the families who have tirelessly supported these future leaders. They entrusted their loved ones to this academy, and we pray they are filled with the immense pride for the individuals their children have become. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to the dedicated faculty and staff who have poured their wisdom and mentorship into these cadets, shaping them into the exemplary officers they are today. Graduates, this is your day. You have earned this honor through commitment and relentless hard work. Savor this moment, for when the ceremony concludes, a new chapter of service and dedication unfolds. May God bless you and guide you as you embark on your journey as Coast Guard officers. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Platform, party, and presenters of commissions, please join the class of 2024 and uncover. All other military personnel, please remain covered throughout the ceremony. I now have the pleasure of introducing the 43rd Superintendent of the United States Coast Guard Academy, Rear Admiral Michael Johnston.
Thanks, Master Chief. Secretary Mayorkas, Admiral Fagan, public and community leaders, distinguished alumni, military veterans, faculty, staff, coaches, the band, family, friends, and the Corps cadets. Good morning, and welcome to the home of the Officer Corps of the United States Coast Guard. And to the great class of 2024, congratulations, you did it. Yeah. Today marks the culmination of 200 weeks of hard work, dedication, sacrifice, both on the part of our graduates and the support networks that have stood by them every step of the way. Class of 2024, shortly you will receive your diplomas. Take the oath and accept your commission. You will depart this institution as officers and young leaders ready to step into the world's best Coast Guard. This is a special day for the Academy, the Coast Guard, and our nation. Secretary Mayorkas, thank you so much for presiding over today's ceremony. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on board our amazing campus, the only institute of higher learning within the Department of Homeland Security, and one dedicated to developing servant leaders. Sir, the men and women assembled before you are ready in all aspects to serve as leaders of character in our service. They're prepared to uphold the oath to protect and defend our great nation, and I can attest with great certainty that they are ready to serve wherever and whenever our country needs them. Parents and guardians, family and friends, we are thankful to have you with us today. Your unwavering love, encouragement, and belief in your cadets' abilities have been the cornerstone of their success. To the parents and guardians who have provided guidance and reassurance, to the siblings who have offered companionship and support, and to all the other family members and friends who have lent a helping hand or a listening ear, I thank you. Today we celebrate the achievements of these soon-to-be ensigns. We also celebrate you and the integral role you have played in shaping their futures. I hope you all take great pride in what they have accomplished, and I am confident you will look fondly on the successes that are sure to come in the years ahead. An additional word of thanks to our remarkable faculty, coaches, and staff who prepared the class of 2024. Your mentorship extended far beyond Chase Hall, the classrooms, the sports fields. You aided in leadership development, advancement of critical thinking skills, and instilled in the cadets the values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty. And I thank you for your continued support, your commitment to our mission of developing leaders of character for our service and our nation. Class of 2024, would you please join me in thanking our family, friends, faculty, staff, coaches, and crew who have supported you these past 4 years. And to the great class of 2024, over the past 4 years, you have truly given it your all. Despite the rest of the world on lockdown and in quarantine, you showed up here on July 8th, 2020. Many of you missed your senior sports seasons, proms, even your high school graduations. But despite this, you remain dedicated to serving your country, and for that, we are eternally grateful. You chose the harder path, the path of service, the path of commitment to something bigger than yourselves. Your class experienced a fourth class year like none other. You endured countless COVID tests, hybrid classes, and much, much more. But third class year was a new beginning for you. With COVID restrictions easing up, you began to forge new relationships. You entered the fleet for the first time and earned critical qualifications that immensely supported a Coast Guard with increasing personnel shortages. 91 of you were inducted into Alpha Lambda Delta for high academic achievements that year. Second class year, you transformed as leaders across the campus. You embraced the class of 2026 and provided mentorship and guidance as they entered the academy. You led your respective sports teams to not only NUMAC championships, but also in some cases, national championships. You continued to demonstrate tremendous leadership in your clubs and extracurricular activities. Then, of second-class Cotson's diligent efforts not only grew our Hillel Council, but provided crucial education modules across our campus. And then second-class Jenkins started an EMT orientation program with the Mystic River Ambulance Association. Her efforts enhanced cadet knowledge and experience that are providing critical skills to our service in the near future. As first class, you were challenged to not only provide leadership to the entire Corps, but also take ownership of the many changes that we worked on together. And let me personally thank Emma, Coy, Jake, and Amanda for your leadership, Kira for her courage, and Alyssa for her incredible compassion that helped so many, and Rob for all his efforts in building a climate and culture where people can be their best and give their best. I know none of you did this important work on your own, and I'm immensely impressed and proud of all the efforts of each and every one of the class of 2024. For just a few more examples of what the fleet has looked to look forward to, First Class Becker was responsible for creating a new accountability system for the Corps, while First Class Farlow led a major efforts on the changes to our cadet conduct system. Your class has paved the way for tailgates and sporting events, and First Class Rakim Wood's efforts to opening a lee rail for cadets, faculty, and staff will, I'm sure, be enjoyed for years to come. The academic achievements from your class are truly impressive. Your efforts resulted in advanced research and capstone projects that encompass crucial topics such as underwater passive acoustics, renewable energy, updates to search and rescue planning operations, designs for new Coast Guard buildings and facilities, re-engineering Rescue 21 in one of the hardest environments in Alaska, designing cutters, optimizing Coast Guard recruiting, and even research into the trace illicit drug detection. I could go on and on describing your incredible accomplishments, but I know the sooner I finish up, the sooner you'll be walking across this stage, and that is a great benefit to the nation. You are entering the fleet at a critical time in our nation's history. Our Coast Guard and our citizens need intelligent, compassionate, and energized leaders such as you, now more than ever. In the years ahead, you will undoubtedly face challenges and obstacles. Please know that you are ready. Trust in your abilities. Believe in yourselves and never lose sight of the values that have guided you thus far. And remember, this is a team sport. Continue to care for each other. Class of 2024, congratulations again. The Coast Guard Academy wishes you nothing but the best, and remember, you will always have a home here in New London, Connecticut. Ladies and gentlemen, we truly have much to celebrate today. And on behalf of the entire Academy community, I thank everyone who had a part in today's commencement festivities. Semper Paratus, and go Coast Guard. Remember that saying. Of the 225 young men and women graduating here today with the class of 2024, 5 are international cadets who have proudly represented their nations while greatly enriching our academy and our Corps cadets. And at this time, we invite these international cadets, along with members of their national delegation, to stand when their names are called. These graduates will return to their countries and serve with distinction in their armed forces. Audience, please hold your applause until all the names have been read. From Guyana, Orwin Matthew Austin. Yes. From Dominican Republic, Hector Augustus Lizardo Maranta. Yes. From Honduras, Henry Miguel Matamoros Flores. From the Philippines, Victoria Gil Chavez Regalado. Yeah. And from Jordan, Laura Taha. Thank you. You all have been a tremendous addition to our family here. And now I have the privilege of introducing this year's distinguished graduate. The distinguished graduate is a cadet who graduates with the highest military precedence average, which includes the academic, military, and physical components of the entire 200-week program. And it is with great pride that I introduce this year's distinguished graduate, First Class Madison Garrigus. First Class Garrigus is from Laurel, Maryland, a member of Gulf Company. She was Logistics Department Head this spring and is majoring in Marine Environmental Science. And during her junior and senior years at the Academy, she focused on testing the limits of detection, specificity, and selecting a portable mass spectrometer in testing illicit drugs. I can't even say it. How does she do it? I don't even know. Providing groundbreaking research for the department's Homeland Security in their search for the next generation of the Coast Guard drug detection equipment. She has also been a devoted member of the indoor and outdoor track and field teams over the last 4 years, serving as captain of both the women's indoor and outdoor track and field teams during her first class year. She holds the indoor academy and faculty and facility records in the pole vault, as well as outdoor Coast Guard Academy record in the pole vault, winning first place in her event in 20 meets throughout her collegiate career. First Class Garrigan has two brothers, Zachary and Jacob, a sister, Ashton. First Class Garrigan is joined today by her parents, Lisa and Robert, awesome people that I spent some time with, her grandparents, and aunt and uncle. Upon receiving her commission, First Class Garrigus will report as deck watcher on the Coast Guard cutter Venturous out of St. Petersburg, Florida. It is my pleasure to introduce the distinguished graduate of the United States Coast Guard of the class of 2024, First Class Cadet Madison Garrigus.
Good morning, Secretary Mayorkas, Admiral Fagan, Rear Admiral Johnston, faculty and staff, coaches, family and friends, and last, but in no way least, the great class of 2024. Jim Henson, producer of The Muppets and the voice of beloved Kermit the Frog, once said, "As you start traveling down that road of life, remember this: there are never enough comfort stops. The places you're going to are never on the map, so forget the map. Roll down the windows, and whenever you can, pull over and have a picnic." I'm sure that we each have a map that we are holding on to and are often fixated on for what we want our lives and our careers to look like. We all have goals, ambitions, and dreams. But as Jim Henson alluded to, it can't hurt to drop the map every once in a while and remember to live in the moment. As I mentioned goals and ambitions, I would first like to express my gratitude toward those who helped each of us in the class of 2024 to reach ours. Thank you first to the faculty and staff. Thank you for all that you do. And to the faculty whose class I took at some point or another, thank you for answering my countless questions over the past 8 semesters. Thank you to all of the family and friends who are here today, and to those who could not make it here today. I know I speak for many of my classmates when I say that we could not have made it to this point without you, and we appreciate your love and support. And thank you to my amazing classmates. To those of you who I am fortunate enough to know well, I will miss you dearly, but I'm excited for the adventures to come. For those of you who I didn't get a chance to know as well as I should have, I hope I get the chance to at some point in the fleet. I found that living in the moment, as Jim Henson suggested, is easier said than done, especially at the Coast Guard Academy. Between rigorous classes, military obligations, and academics, it can be easy to fall into a pattern of looking ahead and losing track of what's around us. Let's all take a moment to reflect on our past experiences as a class. Fortioris Una, or Stronger Together, is our class motto. At this point, I know myself and many of my classmates have grown tired of hearing about COVID and how we relied upon one another. However, I don't want to overlook this or downplay its significance for our class, since going through swab summer and fourth class year in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic most definitely impacted us in unique ways. In a new environment, many of us far from the places we called home, we found ways to bond with others in and out of our companies, even when we had to stand braced up at their door with a mask on to hold a conversation. Or, if you were Josh Hudson, you were in isolation for so long that half of your company forgot you even existed. Regardless of these challenges, they made the moments we had together as a class even more special. Third class year, we finally got a chance to know more of our classmates outside of our companies, and many of us were able to experience somewhat normal college athletics for the first time since COVID. Second class year, we grew even closer as we took on the role of cadre and finally officially stepped up into that leadership role. However, first class year with you all has been the most memorable by far. Having a car has been a game changer, opening up more opportunities for us to spend time with one another off campus. For me, I've enjoyed the opportunity to go line dancing with friends most every weekend. Others have enjoyed going golfing, playing pickleball, or attending concerts. Looking back at these past experiences, I want to acknowledge that not all of those who started in our class are here graduating with us today. I know almost all of us in the class of 2024 have close friends which are not in these seats with us. In fact, 2 of my close friends are no longer in our class. Whatever the reason, it's difficult to no longer spend as much time with these people and to know that our paths have diverged. The friendships we have made over the past 4 years are unique and unlike few other. Although distance will undoubtedly draw some of us apart, I want to encourage you all to hold tight to these special bonds which we have made with one another. Here today, for many of us, we face fear, nervousness, or hesitation surrounding the unknown. We will undoubtedly face more challenges ahead with very real consequences. Despite this, I'm sure that for each of these challenges, we will have an equally memorable adventure and treasured memory. As a class of hardworking, ambitious individuals, each of us have goals. For those on our outstanding women's rugby team, maybe this meant winning nationals. For those on our wrestling team, maybe earning All-American. For Amanda Nasty, leading our great class as class president for all 4 years of our time at the Academy. Absolutely. Some of us might have more long-term goals. For Ezra Tetrault, maybe this means running for president. Some of us very immediate goals. If you're Andrew Furterer, this might mean avoiding getting your car booted again by CGPD before you graduate. For Hannah Apelizon, processing all of the incredible pictures she took for so many of us to remember our first class year. I know that many of us, myself included, have a habit of letting our goals take us away from living in the moment. As a track athlete, and specifically a pole vaulter, for the past 8 years of my life, I have worked toward my goal of clearing 12 feet. In high school, I went so far as to put a piece of tape on the banister of my house exactly 12 feet up so I could stare at it every day. At the Academy, I cleared 11 feet, 9.75 inches. So close, but not quite there. Despite reaching many of my goals, as my last season started to come to a close, I struggled with the idea that I might end my collegiate career and never reach that goal of clearing 12 feet. I always thought that if I worked my absolute hardest and gave it my all, there was nothing that could stop me. But that isn't always the case. It is important to take a step back and realize that our experiences as athletes and as people aren't defined by one bar we did or didn't clear or one goal we did or didn't reach. They're instead defined by the countless relationships we have forged, the hours spent with classmates and teammates at practices, meets, and in the classroom, and the many unique experiences we've been blessed with the opportunity to have over the past 4 years. Experiences like seeing an active volcano in Iceland and cliff jumping in Bermuda while on Eagle third-class summer, attending the annual APAC Luau, playing Family Feud and trivia at the Lee Rail on Thursday nights, and partying so hard during ring dance that the fire alarm went off. Many of these experiences were never part of our plan and maybe weren't on our map, but will be memories which we hold on to for years to come. Maybe we reached those goals we set for ourselves. Maybe we didn't. Although it might be against human nature, it is important to avoid letting objectives and accomplishments overshadow experiences. I'm sure many of us already have Coast Guard career goals for ourselves, although this is just the beginning of our careers. Transferring units frequently, especially as a junior officer, will likely make it difficult to avoid just focusing on what's next. However, I want to encourage us all to step into the unknown with excitement and to live in the moment. Work hard and don't be afraid to set ambitious goals for yourself, but don't miss out on the dream you're living because you're hell-bent on reaching a certain bar or finish line. Although the end can be sweet, the journey really is just as important. I know that as a class, we will accomplish great things. I am proud to stand here today and could not have made it without my faith in God and without all of you. As a class, we made each other laugh, smile, and together made it through some of our toughest moments. Stick together, hold on to the bonds which we have made, and remember to drop that map every once in a while and live in the moment. Go Coast Guard, and always and forever, go Bears. It is now my privilege to introduce the Commandant of the Coast Guard, Admiral Linda L. Fagan.
All right, good morning, good morning. What a gorgeous day to be here in New London as we celebrate the class of 2024. So, Mr. Secretary, Academy faculty, staff, coaches, family, friends, but most importantly, members of the class of 2024. Thank you all for joining us here today in New London. I can feel the excitement. 39 years ago, I sat in those seats out here on this same football field, and I know firsthand the excitement, the feelings of trepidation, but mostly pride in the accomplishment and successes of your time here and the opportunity that will be in front of you now as ensigns. The 4 years I spent as a cadet felt like an eternity. However, the 39 years since have gone by in a flash, and I assure each of you the same will be true as you enter this incredible Coast Guard. There's never been a better time to begin your careers in the Coast Guard as officers. Global demand for the Coast Guard is high and growing, and some of you have experienced this during your summer programs. It's paralleled by increased recognition in the incredible service that we provide to the nation, ensuring national security and economic prosperity. To the class of 2024, in just a few short weeks, you will each report to first units, and you will immediately find yourselves at the center of the Coast Guard's critically important work to protect our national security and ensure our economic prosperity. You'll serve on cutters deployed around the world. The Coast Guard cutter fleet is actually the third largest Navy in NATO. You join a professional, accomplished, significant fleet. You'll work with allies and partners throughout the Indo-Pacific, the Atlantic Basin, the Arctic, to help them protect their own maritime sovereignty. You'll lead boarding teams to interdict vessels smuggling tons of narcotics at sea, life-saving work that reinforces the rule of law and prevents illegal drugs from reaching the shores of the United States. You'll protect the $5.4 trillion U.S. marine transportation system by inspecting the ships and facilities that move 90% of our nation's imports and exports. You'll break ice and maintain aids to navigation to keep American waterways open for the efficient movement of cargo and passengers. You'll keep close watch over the security of our ports, both on the water and in cyberspace, to ensure our adversaries cannot compromise the supply chains our economy depends on. You'll protect the marine environment as the Coast Guard holds the unique responsibility to prevent and respond to oil spills and investigate other environmental crimes. You'll lead our crews into dangerous conditions to rescue others in distress. And when a hurricane strikes our shores, you'll deploy from across the nation to rescue people from flooded streets and homes. You are embarking on a truly noble calling of service to the American people. And you'll each be called to serve in ways you've only yet begun to imagine. This comes with a little trepidation, I know, but you should be excited and confident that you are prepared well. You are prepared for the challenges ahead. To the parents and families of the class of 2024, thank you. They did not arrive here at this conclusion of their 200-week journey alone, and you have been instrumental in ensuring that they've arrived here successfully. And so congratulations to each of you. Celebrate your new officers. Rest assured, your guidance will remain critical as their journey continues and their journey ahead. I also sat in those seats as a parent when my daughter graduated in 2016. And so while there will be fewer tearful phone calls, there will still be phone calls asking for your guidance as they continue their journey in the Coast Guard. This class started their academy journey during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, and all of the uncertainty just heightened the challenge for the class. Well, I have the privilege of leading the service as a Commandant. As I said, I'm actually more proud of also being a Coast Guard mom. I took incredible pride when my daughter graduated, and frankly, I still do, as I watch her serve and succeed and grow as an officer in the service, and you will each share in that journey. I want for your graduates what I want for my daughter: opportunity for meaningful work where she's been trained well, where the fleet and the tools we give her are well-resourced, where she's valued and heard and is able to achieve her fullest potential. I want a service where our service culture is strong, where we live by our core values of honor, respect, and devotion to duty every day, where everyone always has this experience, where everyone always is valued, heard, and safe, where we treat each other, even in those smallest moments in our workplaces, when we're not doing the really hard, difficult work the nation calls on us, where everyone is able to enjoy that core value. And I know this team and this class is up to that challenge. To the soon-to-be ensigns, as you depart New London and take time to reflect on the significance of your accomplishments over the past 4 years, you'll come back for homecoming, but as has been mentioned, you will never be back together as a class, all of you in one place. So enjoy your last moments here as a class. But you have forged lifelong friendships. The friendships that you have forged here over your 4 years are now with you for life. And oh, by the way, to the class president, they didn't tell you that it's a life term. It's not just 4 years. That too will be with you when you come back for a homecoming. So enjoy the stories, enjoy the time and experience, but it truly will bond you now for all that you do in your future, whether in the Coast Guard or out. So my charge to you as you enter the fleet: show up, bring your best self every day, commit to the endeavor, volunteer, lean into every opportunity. It may feel inconvenient, it may feel like extra work or duty, but I assure you it will pay dividends as you move forward. Lead our Coast Guard workforce. Make the workforce your top priority. Support them and their families, and in turn, they will support you and bring their best selves into the organization. Create an environment of trust. Create an environment where those who are working with you and for you trust you and trust your view and deeds. Always live by our Coast Guard core values: honor, respect, devotion to duty. They will guide you on and off duty in everything that you do. Hold yourselves and others accountable when missteps and failures happen, and they will. Learn from those mistakes, pick yourself up, continue to move forward, and show compassion towards others as they endeavor to bring their best selves forward. Soon, you'll shed your cadet rank and enter the officer corps. Every ending, there's a new beginning, and I look forward to seeing you in the fleet soon. Thank you. Semper Paratus. Go Coast Guard. Today, we are incredibly fortunate to be joined by the 7th Secretary of Homeland Security, the Honorable Alejandro Mayorkas. Mr. Secretary, thank you for your example of service, your enduring leadership, your advocacy, and unwavering commitment to the United States Coast Guard. I'm grateful for your service to the nation. Thank you for sharing a few words of wisdom with the class of 2024. Welcome, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning. Early on, in thinking about what your experience would be like at the Coast Guard Academy, I bet you didn't expect to have a swab summer that was so very different than the one of every cadet class before you. I bet you didn't expect to live your 4th class year in the throes of a once-in-a-century pandemic. One never really knows what tomorrow is going to bring. But the measure of character, the measure of an officer in the United States Coast Guard, has never been the capacity to predict the future. It is the poise of always being ready for it, ready for what might come, and the strength to endure, adapt as needed, and rise to the occasion. Semper Paratus is a very encompassing charge for each of you. Yes, you didn't gather together in one large group when you first arrived here, and so much of your swab summer and 4th class year were far different than what you expected. So, you took the oath in 8 separate platoons, pivoted in the many different ways the circumstances required, and made it through an historic, most challenging time. And here you now are. Perhaps you are the most tested and resilient of the 142 classes that came before you. Around this time, college graduates are participating in commencement ceremonies across the country. They all, like you, do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. But this we do know. For the vast majority of them, their tomorrow will be nothing like yours. They will not be holding a helicopter steady while their crew swings over the ocean to rescue people in distress, addressing the cries for relief from migrants on board a cutter in the Atlantic, deciding the safe passage of ships carrying hundreds of millions of dollars in goods, conducting complex studies aboard an icebreaker in the Arctic, starting flight school in preparation for journeys across the world, responding to environmental disasters in our nation's waterways, interdicting drug smugglers along the coasts, deploying to conflict zones to protect America's national interests at home and abroad, and so much more. At the conclusion of their commencement ceremonies, they will not be officers of the United States Coast Guard. You will be. You have proven yourself ready for what tomorrow might bring, and to shoulder the tremendous responsibilities that you will soon have. You are ready to not only accomplish the awesome missions of your service, but also to always be there for one another and to represent with honor the institution that you will now help lead. Being there for one another. In different ways than ever before, you will learn what it means to give of oneself for the benefit of another, sometimes even at great peril. You will live the true meaning of sacrifice, camaraderie, and leadership. This past November, 2 Coast Guard members were badly injured when their helicopter crashed. One was a flight mechanic, the other a rescue swimmer. At the Seattle Tier 1 hospital where urgent care was being administered, the rescue swimmer somehow moved himself to be and remain by his more seriously injured colleague's side. The Coast Guard is not just an organization, it is a family. Representing with honor the institution you will now help lead. What you do and how you do it, on duty and off, will reflect on others and the institution, the family itself. You carry forward a rich history, proud traditions, and the nobility that fills the Coast Guard uniform of service to country. Bring honor to it in everything you do. In a few minutes, every single one of you is going to throw your combo cover high into the air. Some of you have scored a higher class ranking than others, maybe with better grades, more touchdowns, faster sprints, or stronger military bearing, but no matter. When your covers hit the ground, all of you will be officers. Moving forward, the tests will be tests of character, of being there for one another, and of bringing honor to us all. As your combo cover flies upward and then descends, think of those who helped make this extraordinary journey possible for you. Your family, loved ones, friends, faculty, and the new officers beside you. Think of them with pride and gratitude as they do of you, especially on this special occasion today. I will digress now from my prepared remarks and share a thought with you. A gift. I don't remember a single thing anyone said at my college graduation. I also don't remember a single thing that anyone said at my law school graduation. In recognition of, in honor, not of all of you, but in recognition and honor of the individual, the one amongst you who is ranked 7th from the bottom of this class, who occupies the seat that I once did, I give you a gift of 1 administrative leave day that you can use this year or next. It's all about the future. Congratulations for all that you have achieved. Semper Paratus, and go Bears. And I wasn't kidding. Yeah, one day.
On behalf of the Coast Guard Academy, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being with us here today and honoring the Academy and the Coast Guard with your presence. I would now like to present the United States Coast Guard Band, conducted by Chief Warrant Officer Jeffrey Spenner, who will perform the Armed Forces Medley, as arranged by Chief Musician Sean Nelson. All past and present members of the military are invited to stand as the band plays their respective anthem. The United States Army. The United States Army. The United States Marine Corps. United States Navy. United States Air Force. The United States Space Force. The United States Coast Guard. Why shall our purpose be? Semper Paratus is our guide, our aim, our glory too. From life to die, for fight and die. I Coast Guard, we are for you. Seats, please. Thank you, Chief Warrant Officer Spenner and the members of the Coast Guard Band. At this time, I am pleased to introduce Dr. Amy Donahue, Provost and Chief Academic Officer, who will share remarks and present the candidates for degrees.
Class of 2024. Congratulations on arriving at this day. It's a significant one, a benchmark in your life that you and your families will recall forever, even if you don't remember a thing we say. It is an indelible moment of triumph and promise. A lot has happened in the 200 weeks since you first arrived. At points, I'm sure it seemed this time would never come. And now the finish line is right here in front of you. You could have taken an easier road to this moment as the pandemic struck just ahead of your fourth class year. You are the last of the 5 classes that had their academy career disrupted by COVID-19. You could have just hung out in your parents' basement and gone to Zoom college instead of showing up as socially distanced swabs and N95 masks and drenched in hand sanitizer. But you didn't. Even during a global pandemic, you decided to attend one of the nation's federal military service academies and best colleges. And today you will receive your degree. The degree you earned through hard work and perseverance from the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. Besides congratulating you and sending you off to future endeavors, the other charge that comes with presenting you for your degree is to impart some words of inspiration and advice. Every year I find this a bit daunting. I have no special access to the most important things that drive each of you or that will speak to your goals and aspirations. So I did what I know you may have done a time or two. I asked ChatGPT what to tell you today. ChatGPT thinks you should celebrate your achievements, stay curious, follow your passion, be resilient, make a difference, stay connected, take care of yourself, believe in yourself, stay true to your values, and never stop striving for greatness. Okay, so that's quite a to-do list. The good news is you already are underway and making way toward fulfilling these things. Let me be clear, though, what you're about to do with your lives is profoundly salient and much more demanding than what ChatGPT recommends. You are going to save the world. You are going to save it from injustice, war, and terrorism, from disasters, from crime and drugs, from oil spills and ice and the effects of climate change, and from bad behavior and bad people and good people that just made bad decisions. That is what the Coast Guard does day in and day out every single day. It saves those in peril and protects the nation from all maritime threats. Let me acknowledge, though, great expectations like this can be very daunting. Don't I know it? It doesn't get less intimidating, even as you get along in your career. The good news is you don't have to do great things and save the world all at once or all alone. And it's not significant achievements that will carry you forward. It's actually your small choices that matter most. Just do your job every day, and it will matter. No matter how gnarly the mission or how demanding the assignment, you know how to work hard. You know how to do what you say you're going to do, and you know how to look after the people around you. Basic professionalism and competence are the foundations of real success. In fact, they are the very things that make the U.S. Coast Guard so effective and held in such high regard. So don't feel disappointed in yourself if what you're doing doesn't seem momentous. Don't be discouraged if you fail or fall. As they say, success consists of getting up just one more time than you fall. If you just pay attention to doing the right things and doing things right, you will be important. Cumulatively, what you do will change the world by assuring our service lives its values every day, in every action, and remains the bedrock of democracy and freedom on which we all depend. Even so, in this moment, I suspect some of you may be wondering exactly what you've gotten yourself into and whether it's too late to run away. I imagine you may be feeling eager and excited about what's ahead, but also a bit overwhelmed and apprehensive, nervous, even scared. As you step into your roles as officers, you will feel the weight of the responsibility that comes with the uniform you wear. Lives will depend on your decisions. So forget ChatGPT. Here are my two small pieces of advice. Never lose sight of the humanity of those you serve alongside and those you serve. And treat them with respect and compassion. And never doubt you are prepared for what's ahead. We are certain you have the tools and resourcefulness you need to succeed. You don't have to inherit the life you went to bed with. You can choose your life every day. That, the openness of your mind to possibility, is the essence of the education you claimed during your 200 weeks here. That is the achievement we mark with this graduation ceremony. We are not giving this degree to you. You have earned it. And just as you make your families, Proud, you make us as an academy so proud. The attainments of our students are our greatest reward. Our graduates are the emblems of our success, the results of our very best efforts. You are our service to the nation, and the proof that the work we devote our lives to is worth it. So thank you, class of 2024, for doing what it took to arrive at this day, for all you have given and will give to the nation we serve. Thank you, parents and families, for your support and devotion to this special group of people. I am honored to be among the first to commend you all on your success. And now the moment has come. This is the last time someone is going to tell you what to do as a college student, and it is my great privilege to do so. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science please rise? Admiral Johnston, as Provost and Chief Academic Officer, I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science. They have been examined and approved by the faculty.
Well done, as always. By virtue of the authority invested in me, I now confer upon each of you the degree of Bachelor of Science and admit you to all its rights and privileges. Congratulations to the class of 2024. Well done.
Class of 2024, please be seated. I am now pleased to introduce Captain Edward Hernandez, the United States Coast Guard Academy's 38th Commandant of Cadets, who will present the candidates for commissioning as ensigns in the United States Coast Guard.
Secretary Mayorkas, Admiral Fagan, Admiral Johnston, ladies and gentlemen, and the members of the wonderful class of 2024, good afternoon. Admiral Fagan, as Commandant of Cadets, I have the honor of presenting to you the candidates for the commission of ensign in the United States Coast Guard. They have met all military requirements and have successfully demonstrated competency as leaders of character in the Coast Guard Academy's 200-week Leader Development Program. At this time, ma'am, I invite you to administer the oath of office to those being commissioned in the United States Coast Guard. Platform party, please rise.
Thank you, Captain Hernandez. Those members of the class of 2024 being commissioned in the United States Coast Guard, please rise. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. Having been appointed to the grade of ensign in the United States Coast Guard, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of which I am about to enter. So help me God. You may lower your right hands. Congratulations, ensigns. Welcome to the Officer Corps.
Ensigns, please be seated. Thank you, Admiral Fagan. We will now present the graduating class with their diplomas and commissions. As each graduate approaches the platform today, he or she Being presented with a gift by the Coast Guard Academy Alumni Association, presenting the Class of 2024 Challenge Coin, will be Captain Robert McKenna, U.S. Coast Guard retired, and the Class of 2024's link in the chain. Representative Captain Gary Palmer, U.S. Coast Guard retired, Coast Guard Academy, Class of 1974. The degrees of Bachelor of Science will be presented by the Superintendent, Rear Admiral Michael Johnston. Commissions as Ensign in the U.S. Coast Guard will be presented by the Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. And the Commandant of Cadets, Captain Edward Hernandez, will announce the names, major, and unit to which each new ensign is assigned.
Stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my deep personal honor to name each graduate, their academic major, and their future assignment. Since its founding in 1876, the United States Coast Guard Academy has graduated leaders of character in service to our nation. Let's get this started. Brendan William All, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Flight. David Thomas Anthony, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Healy. Hannah Nicole Clemente Apolizan, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Juniper. Faith Ann Arnold, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Spar. Emily Elizabeth Arpino, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Pablo Valent. Elizabeth Althea Atkinson, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Bear. Orwin Matthew Austin, Cyber Systems. Elhan Elchin Bagarov, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Hollyhock. Julia Michelle Barbalato, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Escanaba. Sierra Grace Barbie, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Fur. Addison Kelly Bass, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Stratton. Luke Francois Bay, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Polar Star. Mia Noel Becker, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cyber. Ryan Frank Bago, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Stratton. Milo Francis Bertrand, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Monroe. Emily Browning Bornath, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Juniper. Carter James Boykin Holland, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Polar Star. Harlan Spencer Brady, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. Maximos Han Brady, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Laguerre. John Ryan Bergaw, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Julia Mariel Bridenthal, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Calhoun. Riley Jean Brick, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Frederick Hatch. Anna Susan Buelt, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Alder. Kerrigan May Bulger, Management, Flight. Christine Rose Carey, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Monroe. Dylan Tyler Carmen, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Escanaba. Jake Charles Carpenter, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Forward. John Andrew Carroll, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Walnut. Samuel Sho Carroll, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Joseph Gerzak. Noah Allen Caskey, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Reliance. Juna Ann Castell, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Harriet Lane. Joseph Allen Chapman, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Valiant. Sarah Unji Cho, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Stratton. Megan Amanda Churm, Government, Flight. Jack Biogton Clements, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Argus. Lauren Faith Connor, Civil and Environmental Engineering. Zoe Danielle Cousineau, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Mackinac. McKenna Sarah Coles, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Earl Cunningham. Tyrese Maxwell Delmida, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Sequoia. Davis Patrick Daughtry, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Northland. Emily Janglu Davis Morin, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Logan Pete De Los Santos, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Diligence. Miles Gustavo DeCoste, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Maurice Jester. Maria Victoria Del Rosario Chan, Electrical Engineering. Robert DeLillo, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Benjamin Bottoms. Lillian Maria Disk, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Bridget Grace Darty, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Sector Los Angeles, Long Beach. Hope Margaret Drake Duval, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Kukui. Sean Francis Dreher, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Jeremy Ray Dreyer, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cyber. Maeve Cornelia Duffin, Cyber Systems, Flight. Carol Abigail Duffy, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter William Flores. Cassie Elizabeth Eagle, Government, Flight. Jacob William Earnshaw, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Alex Haley. Nicholas Brent Esmond, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Seneca. Lilia Parker Farlow, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Venturous. Keith George Fatula, Management, Sector Houston Galveston. Patrick Ian Feely, Management, Flight. Madeline Ray Fender, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Alder. Tyson Robert Fenn, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Tahoma. Andrew William Federer, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Mohawk. Annabelle Marie Figueroa, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Douglas Denman. Charles Leslie Fish, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Josue Flores Bencomo, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter John McCormick. Christopher Bernard Flynn IV, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Joseph Napier. Madison Marie Fote, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. Joshua Ian France, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Bear. Cole Riley Fulton, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cyber. Darius Daniel Gadsden, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Flight. Sophia Gabriela Galdamez, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Vigilant. Madison Nicole Garrigus, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Venturous. Jessie Josephine George, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Sycamore. Christopher Sullivan Golson, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Oak. Jonathan Christian Glander, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Tahoma. Grayson Highland Gliver, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Robert Ward. Genzo Matua Suzuki Gonzalez, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Weishi. Brian Thomas Green. Brian Thomas Green, Government, Flight. Noah David Green, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Campbell. Theodore Frederick Helms Guba, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Alex Haley. Abigail Marie Gidry, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Richard Etheridge. Kevin Michael Hall, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Harriet Lane. Logan Thomas Hania, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Sector Charleston. Kevin Gwei He, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Harriet Lane. Zachary Edward Hegley, Management, Flight. Leighton Rambo Hurd, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Willow. Ellie Christine Heigl, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Active. Tana Lynn Heigl, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Roland Fritsch. Kira Grace Holmstrup, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Campbell. Chloe Ann Hudson, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Forward. Joshua Robert Hudson, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Thetis. Avery Alexander Humphrey, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Bailey Barco. Emma Ireland Hupp, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cyber. John English Breeden Hudson, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Vigorous. Mary Michelle Wynn, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter John Patterson. Thomas James Patrick Ingersoll, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Weishi. Joshua Parker Inman, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Vigilant. Catherine Ann Jenkins, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Stone. Jin Joseph Johnson, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Raymond Evans. Sarah Grace Kalita, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Reliance. Nicholas Andrew Kalfas, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Caitlin Teresa Kelly, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Bernard Weber. Crystal Kim, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. Jake Ehyun Kim, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Angela McShann. Eliza Grace Kotzen, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Cypress. Alexandra Beatrice Kukul, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Bridget Mary Kunka, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter James. Jeffrey Frederick Ledine, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering and Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Mackinac. Hannah Zhu Lane, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Venturous. Natasha Anna Lang, Management, Flight. Joyce He Lee, Management, Sector Boston. Christina Elisa Liano Mock, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Diligence. Mikasa Lindy Learman, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Oliver Henry. Thomas William Little III, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Joseph Doyle. Hector Augusto Lizardo Maranta, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. David William Loomis, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Kukui. Ryan Darwin Lau, Management, Flight. Colby Miller Lovelace, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Nathan Bruckenthal. Emma Catherine Lynch Galvin, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Northland. Isaac Benjamin McGee, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Tampa. Anthony Robert Martin, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Northland. Joseph Garrett Martin, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Bear. Henry Miguel Matamoros Flores, Management. Alexander Sulgi Mathis, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Laguerre. Brendan Joseph Mattingly, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Devin Julia McHugh, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Elm. Noah Joseph McMahon, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Stone. Rory Kathleen McPherson, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Robert Yared. Madeline Isabel Mee, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. Chase Elizabeth Merrick, Government, Flight. Lily Renee Micah, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Oliver Berry. Ryan Nicholas Mitchell, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Mohawk. Amanda Jordan Moore, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter John Witherspoon. Sydney Cragen Motherway, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Active. Delaney Elizabeth Moyer, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Amanda Marie Nasty, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Mohawk. Alina Luis Nelson, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Joseph Tizanos. Tao Sarah Wynn, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Richard Dixon. Dylan Martin Nitz, Government, Coast Guard Cyber. Charles Arthur Norman IV, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Lauren Margaret Oakes, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Dana Marie O'Brien, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter William Hart. William Stephen O'Leary, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Monroe. Sadie Lorraine Olson, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Flight. Maya Rebecca Olsted, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Richard Snyder. Lauren Marie O'Neill, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Isabella Saline Ortez, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Argus. Allison Elizabeth Osborne, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Walnut. Michael Neftali Pagan Selby, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Eagle. Sydney Mia Palinkas, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Florence Finch. Alyssa Danielle Parker, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Active. Cooper Robert Pavlovich, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Stone. Sarah Michelle Pearson, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Stone. Coleman Stephen Peppard, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Tahoma. Wolfgang Maximilian Flager, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Flight. Miles Jacob Petrowski, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Bear. Tyler Scott Paulin, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Midget. Luca Benvenuti Posamai. Management, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Mason Dwayne Purvis. Management, Coast Guard Cutter David Duran. Mia Jade Quinlan. Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Isaac Mayo. Daniel David Radka. Management, Coast Guard Cutter Resolute. Edward John Ratliff III. Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Calhoun. Derek Kenneth Raymond. Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Forward. Charles Vincent Red III. Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Valiant. Victoria Hill Echavez Regalado. Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering. Alexander Walker Regan. Mechanical Engineering, Flight. Matthew Edward Rayhauser. Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter James. Michael John Riccio. Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Escanaba. Christian James Riazzi Bodine. Management, Flight. Antonio Eric Rivera. Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Stephen Wayne Rochard. Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Myrtle Hazard. Cullen James Rogacki. Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Diligence. Mackenzie Ruth Rawlings. Government, Flight. Matthew Thomas Ross. Civil and Environmental Engineering, Flight. Nicholas Adam Roth. Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Alex Haley. Wyatt Jeffrey Rumpf. Management, Coast Guard Cutter Kimball. Kieran Francis Ryan. Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Bryce William Samples. Management, Coast Guard Cutter Edgar Culbertson. Erin Elizabeth Sass. Government, Coast Guard Cutter Forward. James Emerson Swanevelt. Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Healy. Edward Alexander Sherman Vivani. Government, Coast Guard Cutter Seneca. Alex Calvin Schilling. Government, Coast Guard Cutter Vigorous. Isabel Rebecca Schroyer. Government, Coast Guard Cutter Margaret Norvell. Grace Christina Sickendick, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Resolute. Sarah Lindsay Skurat, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Alexander Johnheim Smeagol, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Jacob Poru. Mark Joseph Smith, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Confidence. Joshua David Soka, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Stone. Coy Orion Spooner, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Alex Haley. Andrea Marie Stefanishin, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Venturous. Lucas William Stevens, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Polar Star. Ronan Christopher Stone, Government, Coast Guard Cutter William Chadwick. Corinne Marie Stromer, Operations Research and Data Analytics, Coast Guard Cutter Charles Sexton. Justin Garrett Summers, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Monroe. John Mark Tacchini, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Campbell. Laura Taha, Electrical Engineering. Ezra Moses Tetrault, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Hamilton. Jake Edward Tainen, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Frederick Mann. Daniela Maria Tipton, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Healy. Ethan Luan Toe, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter James. Ethan James Tobe, Naval Architecture and Marine Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Daniel Tarr. Nicholas Manuel Torres, Government, Coast Guard Cutter William Sparling. David Truong Tran, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Confidence. Daniel Hawes Udingst, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Stratton. Jacob Thomas Vecchio, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Sycamore. Ryan Anthony Vigo, Cyber Systems, Coast Guard Cutter Forrest Rednauer. Pearson Michael Wade, Electrical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Thetis. Benjamin Montgomery Wagner, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Polar Star. Morgan Hunter Ward, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Tampa. Alan Christian Wasserman, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Tampa. Cheyenne Lee Waters, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter John Witherspoon. Holly Lou Welker, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff. Erin Christina Whalen, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Valiant. Tamara Diane Weeder, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Flight. Dawson Elias Willis, Government, Coast Guard Cutter James. Kai Karsten Wismar, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Oak. Francis Jinsong Wood, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Resolute. Kira Serafina Wood, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Harold Miller. Devin Lee Woodworth, Management, Coast Guard Cutter Northland. Ava Colette Yakovone, Civil and Environmental Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Weishi. Cortland Chanel Yergin, Government, Coast Guard Cutter Maple. Ryan Clark Eunice, Cyber Systems, Flight. Charles Robert Young, Electrical Engineering, CG Cyber. Noah Beloncia Urola, Mechanical Engineering, Coast Guard Cutter Calhoun. David Michael Zach III, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter William Trump. Carmen Luisa Zipf, Marine and Environmental Sciences, Coast Guard Cutter Stratton. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduates of 2024.
Thank you, sir. Ensign Amanda Nasty, President of the Coast Guard Academy Class of 2024, please come to the podium to make a special presentation.
Mr. Secretary, on behalf of the class of 2024, I present to you this token of our appreciation.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the alma mater and remain standing until the conclusion of this ceremony. Lieutenant Commander Camille Williams, Chaplain, United States Coast Guard Academy, will now deliver the benediction.
Let us pray. Now that we have reached the conclusion of this ceremony, we celebrate not just the culmination of the academic year, but the dawning of a new era. In this class are future commandants, presidents, senators, and history makers. Every graduate is a trailblazer. As you prepare to enter the fleet, I pray you hold fast to the words of the prophet Micah, who said, "And what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God?" Let these words be your marching orders for your career. The power you possess as officers is not to be taken lightly, for from this point forward, you will always be watched and always observed. Walk worthy of this calling. The world depends on you. And now as we depart this place, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Ensigns of the class of 2024. Here it comes. You may now divest yourselves of all symbols of cadet life. Platform party and presenters of commissions, please recover. Audience, please remain in place until the departure of the official party, the playing of Stars and Stripes Forever, and the recessional. New ensigns and other military personnel, 10 hut. Those covered, hand salute. Now, Homeland Security, departing. Now, Coast Guard, departing. Now, Coast Guard Academy, departing. Ready, two. Ladies and gentlemen, due to security requirements, the north end of the field, beyond the end zone, to my right, is secured to all personnel.
The 143rd commencement exercises of the United States Coast Guard Academy are now concluded.